Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have Dave Farrow with us. Dave, thank you so much for joining and welcome to the podcast.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so how does it feel to break the Guinness World Record?
Well, to be honest, it was to prove a point. I had some very negative people in my life that didn't think I could accomplish very much, and I thought I had a lot of potential. So I went after this. I was bitter. I was upset. I went after this, and when you actually accomplish it after so much work, it's more than just proving someone wrong at that point. It changes your sense of who you are. So I changed how I thought about myself.
And how did your memory journey started?
Well, I started off, I had a terrible memory. I was ADHD and dyslexic, and I had a lot of challenges. So I decided to train my brain to overcome them. And it was an amazing journey because just understanding, going from not knowing anything about the brain and thinking it was just, what you're born with, to understanding that you can change how your brain works. You can do something about it with effort and training. It absolutely changes everything in your life.
I'm curious, like in your life, what was the moment at that time you realized like really need to work on your memory?
I was a kid. I was 14 actually when I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia. Was at the bottom of all my grades. I was just really struggling, and it was also not necessary. It was one of those situations where I have a high IQ. I'm very smart. I should be accomplishing more, and I couldn't. And I just realized that I could do something about it. I learned a technique, just a simple thing that when you're forgetful, one of the ways to counter it is to look up. And the reason is when we get stressed out, we look down because we're talking to ourselves.
Mhm.
And by looking up, it changes that pattern, and it puts you more in touch with your visual memory. Right, a simple little tip. But I started doing it when I was on taking tests as a kid, and I saw a huge difference for me, right? Because that was my thing. I was getting stressed out during tests. And I thought, wow, if this one little trick can make such a difference, I wonder if there's any other tricks out there that I can use. And boy, was there. There's a whole strategy, there's a whole library of ways to train your brain that almost nobody taps into. And once you do,
Hmm.
it can literally change who you are.
So, what's your favorite strategy?
Well, that's one of my favorites. The other one I would also say is to understand the difference of novel brain training. So your brain pays attention to things that are unique and different. I often say this is like it's called the tiger in the jungle metaphor. So imagine you're walking through a jungle and you
Mhm.
see you see a frog and you see a rock and you see a bush and you see a nice tree and you see a tiger and you see the trail and you see a waterfall, and you look at the nice waterfall and you get eaten by the tiger, right? Because what your brain should be doing is looking at the whole scene quickly and picking out the tiger, right? That's a survival mechanism, right? So that's what our brain naturally does. We don't realize it, but that's what we naturally do. So the problem is when you're throwing at your brain a whole bunch of boring information, like math facts or something, when you're studying, your brain is really bored, and it never reaches the level of stimulation that it needs to reach in order to memorize things.
Mhm.
So what we do instead is we trick the brain into memorizing things by visualizing it in a novel way, by making this boring information into a tiger in your head. And it takes creativity. It's a lot of fun. There is a strategy to it. You have to learn how to do it. But once you do it, then it gives you a real unfair advantage.
So, can you share what are the top five brain foods to improve memory?
Foods, I've come a long way on this actually. Before I would have said like blueberries and avocados, and those are still very, very helpful. But what I have to say now is probably avoiding sugar is the top thing that you can do. It's sugar is like avoiding it. It has more benefits. I think it's going to be the next level of smoking, and it's because your brain takes that sugar and it has a spike of insulin and gets too much energy and gets excited, and that excitotoxicity affects your brain. More than that, sugar feeds your biome, your gut bacteria and everything, and that produces negative effects on your brain. and all sorts of things, down through the line. There's inflammation that comes from it. We've tied it to all sorts of things. So refined sugars, I'd say, is the one thing to cut down on and cut out
Mhm.
to improve your brain. After that, you want to have a healthy. You want to question a lot of the stuff that's at the grocery store, right? At the grocery store, you have so many things. At least in America, there's so many things that are made with cornmeal and extra sugar and extra ingredients. And the main thing that I try to tell people is the closer you can get to the source, the closer you can get to the actual source of food, the better. And I was a vegetarian for about 30 years, trying to get, healthier, but I found that a lot of the vegetarian processed foods made me unhealthy, right? So I
Mhm.
eat meat now, but I source that meat from farms in the area. I go to a butcher that butchers the cow, and I get that meat. I don't source it from the grocery store that's gone through a process. And if you look at both cuts of meat, if you get like a hamburger or something, right, from an actual butcher versus from the grocery store, they look like two different things. Like the grocery store looks like bubble gum, and from the butcher, it looks completely different. And it just shows that there's processing happening behind the scenes that you don't realize. I mean, even eggs, get eggs from the grocery store versus getting them from the country. You can taste the difference. You can see the nutrient content. The eggs are more closer to the orange color than yellow because they have more vitamins in them and nutrients. It's just yeah, like getting a really good source of nutrients is really important because your brain lives on nutrients.
And does sleep have any impact on our memory?
Yeah, we're finding out sleep has a bigger impact than we ever thought. If you deprive yourself of sleep, you can actually have gaps in your memory for days as a result. Even somebody who has a very strong memory, you can weaken it a lot with a lack of sleep. So it's important to get your sleep. But also another thing is don't try to get extra sleep in. Like once you've gotten your sleep in, there's no benefit to staying there. When you actually naturally wake up, you should get out of bed and try to do something productive. That first hour or two of your day is so important to get something done. Like, if you're working on a book or you're working on a project or something, make that the first thing you do. And very often a lot of people will have two sleeps. I have two sleeps. What I mean is I will wake up very early, sometimes 3 or 4 in the morning, right? And I'll be energized. I'll get something done. I'll get up. I'll do some writing. I'll get something done, and
Mhm.
it'll be like 7 o'clock or something like that, right? And I'll all my thoughts have gotten out and everything, and then I'll start to feel a little tired because I've gotten some accomplished, and I'll go back and take a nap, right? And I'll come back and I'll be back up at 8:30 or something like that. That's perfectly okay. Follow your body's rhythm, and sometimes that's what your body wants to do.
Okay, so why are some exercises better than other for our brain?
Different brain exercises. Well, there's something in neuroscience called transference, and that basically means that when you do one activity, that will benefit you. Like if I practice math, I'll get better at math, right? And there is a term called transference that tells us that if we do one activity, it'll transfer to another activity. And usually, these activities it's not what people think. So what I mean is if you do Sudoku or something like that, right? Like some sort of game-oriented brain teaser,
Mhm.
then you're going to improve your ability to handle that particular game and not much else. So if you do crosswords, you'll get better at crosswords, and that's about it, right? But if you do something that involves memorizing and then recalling information like learning a language, you're going to have a sharper memory when you're picking up your kids from school or when you're just walking throughout the day. So the activity of trying to memorize and recall has long-term effects, whereas most of the game-oriented stuff is very short-term. It's about the best differentiation I can make.
Okay, so what should people stop doing that hurt their memory, apart from all the things you have mentioned?
Yeah, well, I'd have to bring back sugar and stress. Yeah, those two things, and I experienced it myself. I was like at the top of my game, and then during COVID, I got very stressed. I had financial challenges because one of my businesses wasn't doing very well. I have three businesses, so I'm still doing all right, I guess. But at the time, it was very stressful, and I was having problems in my relationship that led to me divorcing actually, and all of that stress combined caused me to have so much cortisol, and it might have even been related to COVID, that it hurt my memory tremendously. And I was very forgetful. I was very absent-minded, and I was struggling to stay focused. And I really didn't feel like myself. So it took me a long time to realize that and start coming back from that. So it's amazing. So even the memory guy put a bunch of stress in my body, and I can change a lot. And it makes a huge difference. So I would have to say, cutting down on the sugar, regular exercise, and lowering your stress. Meditating every day also makes a big difference as well.
Okay, when you say meditating, like meditating for how long? Like how many minutes would you
Well, that's
recommend?
just it. I mean, it does depend on each person. Some people can't, if they've never meditated before, sitting for 5 minutes is going to be very difficult, right? Whereas if you've meditated before, I can meditate for an hour or so, and I'll really enjoy the experience, right? So everyone's a little bit different. I think the point is that in our society, it might be different in India, but at least in our society in America, so much of the effort is focused on external, right? How do you look to other people? What are other people saying? Like, you're focusing on the external world. So the way I see it is, one of the most important things you can do is just kind of close your eyes and go into the internal world. And when you go there and you haven't done it for a long time, it's a lot like having a messy room. You just go in there and you got to clean up a lot of thoughts. You've got a lot of like baggage, a lot of issues, a lot of emotions, a lot of things that are just rolling around inside your head you haven't addressed, and you're ignoring them. So once you start thinking about them, then it's like cleaning up that room. So when you go back regularly and the room is clean, totally different experience. If you meditate regularly, you'll have a different experience than if you're just doing it for the first time. Doing it for the first time, it's like facing demons.
So, how do you protect your focus in a distracted world?
So how do I protect my focus in this
Yeah,
world?
yeah, in this distracted world.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the first things, and I think everybody's experienced how short form content has changed
Mhm.
their brain, right? It's crazy how quickly that has taken over. I mean, we have people who, like, teachers in school that are watching reels while watching the kids, and the kids are doing crazy stuff, and it is training all of us to be ADD. So one of the first things that I did is I tried to cut out the short form content. It's just changed your brain to focus on such small, short responses. And the other thing is to do some reading every day. Reading seems to be the counterbalance to all of this social media, short form, viral stuff. Read a good book. Read something. Hey, here's a great book to read. How about my book, A Brain Hacker? But yeah, but sitting down and doing the actual act of reading, it's been associated to so many positive changes in the brain that we can actually predict that the person who reads more is going to make more money, is going to be happier, is going to have a better relationship. It's amazing how much we've lost in our society with technology becoming so convenient.
By the way, for our listeners who want to read your book, where can they go?
For people who want to read my book,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's available everywhere books are sold. Amazon. You can also check out brainhackers.com. We have some links on there to some of our courses. I call it brain hacker because, like life hacking or biohacking, brain hacking is really the next step. It's to understand that your thoughts can be manipulated. Somebody else can manipulate them too if you're not careful too. But you also are in charge of whether you're positive or negative, or whether you want to bring things into your life or push them away, or whether you want to remember more or forget more. You can hack your brain. It absolutely can be done, and it changes your life.
Okay. You said you have three other businesses. Can you talk about that?
Sure, sure. Well, my main day-to-day business is I run a PR firm. So it's called Farrow Communications, see in the background. And we do PR and marketing for authors and businesses. And we use memory techniques as well. We call it memorable marketing. And I also do some real estate. But my other main business actually is I have a robotics business that is working on a real estate project to build an event center. So yeah, I got some crazy stuff I'm doing. The
That
event center is gonna look like a castle, and it's gonna be for weddings and other events. It's gonna be really cool.
that's
We
great.
just got accepted on the offer. I've got investors, about over $1 million in investment, and we're gonna put up this center, and it's gonna be a real tourist attraction. And I'm the head designer and project head. So I somehow put myself at the top of this thing and making it happen. And that's really, like, that's what you can do when you can learn quickly and be fearless and try new things. You never know where the future will take you.
Okay. So, looking back when you started all your businesses, okay, what's one lesson you will tell yourself if you could restart again?
It changes all the time. One time I thought it was just about sales. Another time I thought it was just about, like, exiting myself from the business. I'd have to say now, looking back, I would say to be thankful for what I have and treat it all like a challenge more than a burden. And when the challenges come, because they will, see it as more of an opportunity than a challenge and see what I can do with it. Yeah, be intentional with your work. It's a journey, man. I mean, depending on every stage of my life, I would have said something different to myself. As there doesn't seem to be any one thing. There's no one insight. It's just a day to day. You got to wake up every day and keep on doing it.
Okay, Dave, for our listeners who want to know more about you or want to get some help from you, where can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to farrowcommunications.com if you want to book a discovery call with my marketing team. If you have a business or something you want to promote yourself, like you're an author, farrowcommunications.com. And also you can check out brainhackers.com and also get the book. I'll show it again. Brain Hacker. All right. And at brainhackers.com, there's actually a community of about 1,000 other experts who have put up content on how to improve your brain. And there's some memory courses on there as well.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing your wisdom. It was really great chatting with you.
All right, and thank you very much. And I think, should I say, Bahapa Shukriya? Did I say that
Yeah,
right?
perfect.
It's been a long time since I learned any Hindi, but I love it. And thanks very much for the interview.